What's going on, guys? Tyrauku here, back inside the not so free to play account, my main account, and we got a video basically kind of doing a similar series that I did before that I kind of stopped doing, but I would love for you guys to leave down below 2 champions you would love for me to compare. Basically, this versus series is taking 2 champions for the same or similar roles and then comparing them how they do against each other. Today, we're going to be comparing Kael versus Elhain, or Dark Elhain better yet. They're both free champions, free starter champion or free daily login reward champion. Before we get into that, I do want to say thank you guys so much for all your support. Thank you for watching the videos, commenting, liking. It means the world to me. I usually save those thank yous for the end of the video, but I realize a lot of my longtime supporters maybe drop off before the end of the video. So I want to make sure as many people as possible hear that. So yes, thank you all very much. It means the world to me. But Dark Elhain versus Kael. So White Wolf actually sent me a message. He's in the free-to-play clan in the Discord asking about Kael versus Dark Elhain. Is it worth investing in Dark Elhain for an arena nuker? And initially I was like, well, she can hit, I think, a little bit harder, but I wasn't really sure. So in these series and in these videos, I actually learned quite a bit as well as far as when it comes to these champions. So let's look at it. Basically, how this is going to work is I'm going to have the exact same gear on Dark Elhain and Kael. So it's going to be the exact stuff. So I'm not going to try to balance their stats because that would greatly affect the results, right? Like if I balance their stats, it's just going to be comparing champion multipliers. And I can see who has the higher multipliers. I literally have a list. Kael's A1, 3.5. His A2, 4.65. His A3, 1.5. Dark Elhain's A1, 3.1. Her A2, 3.8. If we balanced all the stats out, Kael's A2 ability would have a higher multiplier, but the base stats are where a lot of these, if this champion's better or worse, could come from. So Kael's base stats, 1200 attack, and you can see everything else down here. And then Dark Elhain's base stats, 1365 base attack, okay? Now, I am gonna buy her masteries in this video, so yeah, hopefully I use her more. I do think I will be using her, but the masteries are gonna be exactly the same. I'm not going anything in defense. I don't have the most optimal damage dealing masteries because that would involve picking up War Master. Not War Master, sorry, Helm Smasher. But let me make sure you guys can see that one right there. Basically, this mastery setup is just to have some extra crit damage, some masteries that should be consistent across the board, no RNG chances with Helm Smasher, maybe it procs, maybe it doesn't. The gearing for these champions is not 100% optimized, of course. 3100 attack, a little bit low for the amount of crit damage he has, but this is a set. These are what we're going off of. These are the numbers. These are the masteries. Let's go ahead and build out Elhain's, and then we'll jump into some arena content, some Doom Tower content, and then kind of talk about where else these champions could be useful at. So 800 gems, and one of these, obviously these champions are going to have their big benefits in certain areas, right? So I got Raid Bro dash masteries pulled up to go ahead and fill this out. I got to say, guys, this is an amazing resource. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've built my masteries for champions, accidentally clicked the wrong one, been missing like a specific row and don't have access to it anymore. So going to this Raid Bro site, so nice. raidbro.com/masteries, huge help. You can lay out all your stuff before you do it and say, okay, do I want to sacrifice this? It's just nice for me to be able to lay it out before I actually have to spend the gems, especially in a free to play account, because these aren't cheap to refresh, right? 150 gems may not seem like a ton, and I accidentally used her free reset before I bought them, but hey, it is what it is, not a big deal. Let's go ahead and test Kael. So what I'm going to do is I'll be jotting some notes down on a notepad over here, not the most official way to track the stats, but that's not what we're worried about, okay? So we're going to jump in here to stage 5. Stage 5 is Magic and Spirit Affinity, so we're going to be perfectly fine testing on this stage right here. I'm using, let's see, Arbiter. We're going to use Madame Ceres and Kael, okay? Now, I could use Lydia for some bigger numbers, but she could miss her decreased defense or her weaken since she does have that 3% chance to be resisted all the time anyways. So Madame Ceres, a little bit less likelihood to miss the decreased defense. So we're just going to do the decreased defense by itself. Everything did land here. I want to make sure everything's consistent across the board. Now, this setup will be the exact same thing that I use for Dark Elhain. There is one big thing to keep in mind that could change this result that I'll get into later on when we're comparing the skill kits of Dark Elhain to Kael. So use the A2 ability here. Basically, we're just going to use the ability, back out, see how much damage he did. So we did 175,000 damage. I'm going to be super high tech and jot it down on this notepad right here with all of the top secret information that goes into these videos, guys. So we'll jot it down there. 175,000 damage for the first hit. Everything does have decreased defense. Perfect. And then A2 ability. Back out. Everything's hitting for about 35, 30K, somewhere around there. 180,000 damage. And we'll leave it at that. Actually, no, let's just do one more. And those were very, very close. We got to use Madame Ceres manually because sometimes she likes to use that A2 ability. Decrease defense on everybody, perfect. Use that A2 ability and back out of the match. So we did 175, 180, and then 185,000. It's like he's getting stronger every single time we go against this wave. All right, guys, so let's test Kael's damage without an increased attack from Arbiter, because Dark Elhain gives herself her own increased attack. So I want to see what the difference will be here if Kael isn't benefiting from the increased attack. So we'll go ahead and do a few runs with this. His first go around, he did, let's see, 124,000 damage. And the second go around with no increased attack, obviously it's going to be significantly lower, but he doesn't give himself the buff, right? The second go around, he is doing a total of 119,000 damage. So those are the numbers. Hopefully we can see a pretty good difference between Dark Elhain and Kael, which there is going to be one key factor that I do want to mention once we get into, like I said, comparing their skill kits, because they're going to be different uses for both of them, right? So we're going to jump in here, test the arena now. Kael's stats still looking the same as earlier, didn't change anything, of course. Let's go ahead and jump in here and do this. Arbiter is the fastest, of course, basically just using a speed booster into a strip with Kymar. Strip, the sleep, just allows me to not really worry about speed tune. If you were worried about speed tune, obviously, you could, if you didn't have Kymar, you could use a Lysandra, you could use a Molly for provoke, you could use Umbral for provoke, you could use a Haikatoon, Apothecary to make sure all your champions stay pretty close in speed tune. Not so worried about it here because everybody should be asleep by the time Kael gets it back around to Nuke. So we're going to use his A2 here. Now in the arena, we're not really going to be able to judge it that well because a lot of the, as far as comparing the two champions, because a lot of the teams are going to be very different, right, in their makeup. Now this one, I could probably do it a little bit because I may not one-shot them with Dark Elhain either, and I could keep testing it, but most of them going to one-shot, going to move right through. So just, this will be a little bit of an idea, but hopefully that makes sense in that the arena is going to be a little bit more fluctuation than the Doom Tower test were. So the Doom Tower test on stage 5 seems to be probably the best way to really see big differences right now. That Foley is just going to absolutely wreck my team. That's what happens when you use Kymar instead of, say, a Lysandra. We just won't even hit that team again. Don't even care. But I slept the Foley, and then he counterattacks. I always forget Foley does that, and it always comes back to bite me. Now, that's a fast Lady Kimmy. Wow. Okay, so we got 2 losses in a row. I'm just trying to test stuff, guys. I'm not trying to push. And the El Chupacabras just destroyed me. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Get some teams down here on the lower side of things. We got another Foley. You're not going to trick me again. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on... No, the other way around. Okay, so... Gonna strip and sleep. Perfect. Hopefully Ginbo doesn't wake up. Decrease defense on everybody. Excellent, excellent. And then see what Kael does. That'll be the second match. And then we'll go in there and switch everything off of Kael and put it on Elhain. Now, this is going to be a little different because Duchess does reduce the amount of AoE damage you deal. So take that for what it is. Obviously, she's going to do some damage mitigation. But the arena is going to be the main place you're going to use these nukers. And if they do really good damage in the Doom Tower, they're going to do good damage in the arena as well. Because it's just attacking champions, right? So let's see. But like I said, there's going to be different cases for both of them to be used. This is a good enough example right here, though. Kael's A2 ability is on cooldown, so he does have his A1 and his A3 to use, whereas Dark Elhain only has 2 abilities to use. So the cooldowns do affect things for sure. Let's go ahead and back out of here. Let's go ahead and jump into Dark Elhain testing. So Dark Elhain, let's go right here. We'll go ahead and move the exact same gear. Now, this would be different for everybody, right? Like you could have really good accessories for one champion. You could have really bad accessories for another champion. So it very much depends on your account. Hey, your dark elves are going to be able to go this much more attack than your undead horde or vice versa, right? So do keep that in mind. If you can squeeze out a lot more attack on your undead horde, maybe Elhain is a better nuker for you, or with Kael. Let's go down here to the immunity set. And then I got to show you guys something that's not related to this video, but I was super excited when I got this piece. And that is this sword right here. Let's just take a second to appreciate this. Guys, that is a 5-star pair of speed boots on a sword. 30 plus 8, which is literally the highest possible roll you can get with a 30 on a 6-star legendary piece of gear. Quad roll, I didn't even use, obviously I'm not going to Chaos or that. But then I got plus 8 glyph. I think it took me like 2 glyphs. So it's probably the best piece of gear on my account. It's on my Arbiter. She's like 364 speed. And she's not in a set. Like it's one broken set, right? So go ahead and switch this gear. This is all exactly Kael's gear. Go ahead and swap that over. And then look at my professional word pad. and see, okay, what's their stats comparatively, okay? Because we know that Dark Elhain has higher base stats. Now, the Faction Guardians do play a little bit of a role. You can see the Faction Guardian benefits from Kael, and the Faction Guardian benefits from Dark Elhain. So I'll line this up a little bit so you guys can kind of tell what's going on. The HP is on the top, attack right here, vice versa, all the way down through the thing. But we have 3495 attack with Dark Elhain, with 3108 with Kael. So we have a little bit more attack, we have a little bit more crit damage. The speed's a little bit less on Dark Elhain. The defense, a little bit less as well. HP, a little bit more. And the accuracy, a little bit more as well. Nothing drastic with really any of these stats. Now, like I said, we're going to get into their skills in just a little while and kind of where you would use each. But let's jump into the Doom Tower and see what the damage is like on Dark Elhain. Now, making sure I'm still recording because I accidentally did this whole entire thing and didn't record earlier. So the exact same setup, make sure that we hit the decreased defense and decreased attack on everybody with the Madame Ceres's A3, of course, right? So decreased defense on everybody. The decreased attack doesn't matter. It's not going to change the damage overall. Dark Elhain using your A2, boom, blasted. That looks like quite a bit less damage than Kael did. So 162,000. Kael did 180 basically, but that was the first try. Doesn't really, not going to say a ton, right? Then we'll jump into the arena. I do have a different team set up for Dark Elhain because I think it's going to make a huge, huge difference with her in general. So let's go ahead and back out. 142,000 damage. So Dark Elhain right now is looking like, wow, she's doing less damage than Kael did with the exact same team setup. Well, let's not run Dark Elhain into the dirt. Let's go ahead and look at her arena team, okay? And then we'll get into kind of like where she's going to potentially shine for your account. So as far as her damage goes, that wasn't a huge boost there. But there is a pretty big difference. If you're looking at these champions for an arena nuker, this is where you want to listen up, okay? Because this is where the difference is going to happen. If you look at my Kael team, it has one crucial aspect. It has an increased attack champion. So Arbiter, increased attack. We need that for Kael because Kael doesn't do increased attack on his A2. He does have a 15% chance extra of inflicting a crit. So technically, you could gear him with less crit rate than Dark Elhain, but you want the rest of his kit to be critting, right? So you're never really going to gear Kael with 15% less crit rate. You're always going to want to run him to 100% crit rate. Obviously, he's not right now anything because he's naked, but you want to always run him 100%. So his A2 doesn't have any of those extra benefits, whereas Dark Elhain is in this team right here. She does have benefits, okay? So her A2 ability places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. This is the important part. Then attacks all enemies. So she is giving herself the increased attack that Arbiter was giving Kael. So we had to bring in another champion to give Kael that increased attack, whereas Dark Elhain doesn't need another champion to do it for her. She's always going to have that increased attack before she nukes in the arena, and that is where this is so important because I can now take and use my Siphi, who gives increased defense. She's going to make Dark Elhain a little bit more tanky. Typically, my Siphi is used against Torment teams, so I don't really need that in this situation because Dark Elhain is an excellent counter to Torments, and we'll try to test that out. But essentially what you could do is if you had Dark Elhain and you didn't have Arbiter or you didn't have a champion who could do turn meter boost plus increased attack, you could use Lysandra, you could use Apothecary, you could use Golden Reaper, you could use Haikatoon, you could use any of those champions who give increased speed, increased turn meter, manipulate the enemy's turn meter, but don't have decrease or increased attack, or you could use a champion with Weaken. You can use other options. You don't have to worry about that increased attack. So if you have Arbiter, you're not really going to get the extra benefit from Dark Elhain's A2 ability. But if you don't have Arbiter, Gorgorab, those champions who can give that increased attack and the turn meter boost, then Dark Elhain could possibly be a better option for you than Kael, at least from what I'm assuming. So let's go ahead and jump in here and see as far as their damage dealing test. And then we'll do another round with Dark Elhain in the Doom Tower with no increased attack champion from Arbiter, okay? So we'll go ahead and do this. I may be slower. My Siphi's not super fast, but I don't know. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So that's the situation with my Siphi. She's not fast enough to go before this team did. We'll just go against a slower team. We're not going to go against the Foley. The Foley messed me up earlier. Let's try this. My Siphi's like 330 speed right now because I switched her with my Arbiter because my Arbiter could get a little bit extra because she has a really good banner. So it's okay though. It's okay. We're going to go ahead and decrease defense everybody and see what Dark Elhain hits for. I expect for her to do some pretty good damage, right? I expected her to one-shot everybody except for Fushan, to be honest. Okay, she one-shot everybody, including Fushan. Kaimar's going to reset, and we can see it all happen again in real time. So increased defense, perfect. Now she can take more hits. Decreased defense and everything with Madame Ceres. Dark Elhain's going to go again, going to hit really hard. She's going to use her A2 ability. We do have, not the A2, she's going to have the increased attack on her. Obviously, she's going to be immune to that because we have block debuffs up from the Siphi. Use the A2 right here and get the chance to place decreased speed as well, which is very nice as far as like Doom Tower and general progression. Decreased speed is a very, very good debuff, especially if you're working through progressional type stuff. So if you're going to want that decreased speed on her, you are going to want to include some accuracy. I haven't really built her for accuracy on my account right now, but it is something you want to consider if you're going to use her very heavily. We'll go ahead and refresh this again, get some teams that I think I can more easily beat as far as speed tune. I don't think I can beat this one. I don't know, because 214,000 team power. This team's probably not speed tuned. Arbiter, probably not. So we'll go ahead and continue this. But right now, if you have an increased attack champion, basic arena teams, Dark Elhain, I don't know if she's going to be really a huge deal. But if you don't have Arbiter, if you don't have Gore Grab, if you're running like a Haikatoon and Apothecary as far as your speed boosters, you don't need an increased attack champion. So like on my free-to-play account right now, it's a decent spot where Dark Elhain could possibly make sense as far as the damage being dealt. Let's go ahead and test this again in the Doom Tower because right now she just died again. The teams I think we're going against now are a little bit more tanky than the ones we went against with Kael. Let's go ahead in the Doom Tower one more time, drop the Arbiter, and put Dark Elhain in, and then I'll give my final summary and opinions. So, and you guys are seeing this happen in real time as well, so you can definitely share your opinions as well down below. We'll just use these two. Doesn't really matter because we just need the decreased defense. Arbiter doesn't bring any other damage boosting stats. This is the same thing as in the Doom Tower though. You don't have to worry about having an increased attack champion if you didn't have one to bring. So decreased defense on everybody. Dark Elhain does her damage, and she deals a total of 156,000 damage. So with or without a champion to do that increased attack for her, she's going to do the same amount of damage because she does the increased attack for herself before she attacks, which is so extremely nice. Plus the A2 has that decreased speed, which is very nice in things like the Doom Tower, in things like progressional content in general. So she's definitely solid, especially if you build her for accuracy. You may have to build her a little bit for accuracy, but let's look at the rest of her kit. So Lethal Winter fills this champion's turn meter by 25% and instantly activates Death Majesty, which is her A2, whenever this champion or an ally receives a freeze debuff. This makes her an excellent Torment counter in the arena. So if you're finding a ton of Torments, she could definitely be an answer. You build her to nuke hard enough and hit hard enough, you could potentially one-shot the Torments. Now, you do got to keep in mind, she probably needs to be in Savage. She probably needs to have Helm Smasher. May not be the easiest thing to do, but you could potentially wipe out the entire team before you ever take an actual turn. Well, depending on how they get frozen, right? Same thing against Gurgo. Gurgo the Augur does freezes, and you can do the same thing. Ninja, exact same thing. He freezes you, she counters, boom. Instantly removes any freeze debuff from this champion, and then replaces it with a 30% increased crit rate, 30% increased crit damage, and 15% strengthen. So she's going to take more damage and deal more damage. The crit rate buff, unless you're using her specifically to counter Torments, you're going to have to build her with 100% crit rate all the time anyways. But if you use her specifically against Torments, anybody who freezes, then you could probably drop that extra crit rate, but I wouldn't recommend that unless you're only using her for those specific areas. That increased crit damage is also going to help her damage scale past Kael's. So essentially, in my opinion, Kael is going to be obviously way better in clan boss because he has poisons, better in clan boss, better in dragon, better against boss fights. But Dark Elhain does have some legit use when it comes to fighting Torments in the arena, fighting Torments in the Doom Tower, which are probably one of the most annoying waves in general across the Doom Tower. She's going to be very needed for some of the secret rooms, the undead secret room. She's going to be good there. She's going to be very good in undead faction wars, which is a big reason why I was perfectly fine with fully mastering mine, because my undead faction wars don't have very much damage, and Dark Elhain does bring that little bit of extra damage. Now, as far as booking, obviously Dark Elhain is going to be a little bit more expensive to book because she's an epic versus a rare, and Kael, you're going to have him forever. So the books aren't like massive, I don't think. We have 4 and we have 5, so we have 9 books total. Not anything crazy, kind of to be expected with an epic champion, but she has good other uses. So if you're looking for a Torment counter, Dark Elhain could be it. If you're looking just to replace your nuker, but you already have like a Gore Grab, an Arbiter, something like that, you already have somebody do an increased attack, you're probably not going to get very much more out of taking Dark Elhain over Kael. Like, I don't think I would 6-star her for that. But if I only had Apothecary, if I only had Haikatoon, Or if I only had, say, Golden Reaper, if I wanted to use Golden Reaper, which is another very good champion, I believe a Knight's Rev, very good speed booster in the arena specifically. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Golden Reaper, right here. Perfect. So she has a speed boost, 30% increased speed, and a 20% turn meter. So she's a little bit better than all the Haikatoons and the Apothecaries because she has a 20% turn meter boost and a 30% increased speed, no increased attack. So if you're running somebody like this into, say, Molly, something like that, you don't have a slot where you can fit in an increased attack as well. Dark Elhain gives it to herself. So you could consider bringing her up in that case, possible for 3v3. But as my main nuker in my teams, like right now, would I take her to 6-star on my account if I was using Kael as my nuker and I had Arbiter? No, I don't think I would really need her. I could just skip the Torment teams in the arena. However, just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and test this. Now, I don't think she's going to do crazy damage, like I said, because she's not really geared to top gear Savage nuker to really one-shot everybody. But with my Arbiter, given the increased attack, she will give Dark Elhain a turn. Dark Elhain will buff her stuff. Buff herself. Maybe she does more than I think. Let's see. But obviously you're gonna get the extra crit damage, you're gonna get those extra stats, so you're gonna have a nice little damage boost, right? So hopefully she gets frozen, boom, she got frozen, and boom, she dealt some damage. If she was geared way better, she could potentially just one-shot the entire team. However, she got a counterattacked and she's block revived. So that is what it is. So it depends on where you're at in the arena, how your nuking is in general, but that is a potentially good thing to have. For sure, especially if you don't have any answers to Torments. Doom Tower, solid option. But in general, for an arena nuker, do I think she's much better, significantly better than Kael? I don't think so. I think you have an increased attack champion. I think it shows that Kael in the Doom Tower, here's the damage. Kael did 175, 180, and 185. Dark Elhain did 162 and 142. Their A1, Dark Elhain's A1 versus Kael's A1, basically going to have the same multiplier. Their base stats weren't that far off, so their total stats overall after doing all their gearing weren't that big of a difference. The A2 abilities, while they do have a decent difference in multiplier damage, Kael's obviously does beat out a little bit because the base stats don't have a huge difference overall. Kael has his benefits in Clan Boss. He's going to be using some of the rare secret rooms used in Faction Wars as well. Dark Elhain has her places also. Now, like I said, if you're getting the benefit from her passive ability, the Veins of Ice, the Lethal Winter, both of these, then she's going to have that much better damage overall because she's going to have a 30% increased crit damage buff on herself if she's getting frozen, right? So keep that in mind. If you're going to use her for those specific situations, if it's worth it for you to invest in her to counter Torments, to fight Torments in the arena, perfect. But if you're just looking for a nuker upgrade for arena, I don't know if Dark Elhain is going to give it to you, to be quite honest. So damage could change, obviously, as they scale further and further with your gear. If you have like top tier Savage gear, you may start to see a little bit bigger break in the damage overall. It just really depends on how your team's set up. Dark Elhain gives herself some benefits that Kael doesn't, so you can work around that on building your teams. You don't have to bring an increased attack champion for Dark Elhain to get some benefits. So they both have their pros, they both have their cons. Hopefully this video is giving you guys some guidance and some sight before you invest into one or the other for whatever reason it may be. But guys, let me know, like I said, if you have any champion versus champion videos you want to see, I'd be happy to do them. I do enjoy doing these videos, these type of videos especially. With that said, guys, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you in the next one.